Howdy, ma'am. How are you this week? Hey, this is, uh, how is it? Are you over at, you're at Sound Center? My video thing. I think I got it up, and I'm not. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Uh, Good morning, all. We are not beginning for another 5 minutes, and so everybody's still out doing stuff. But if you are in your place, then please see that the sign-in sheets are done and help us to make sure those are taken care of. Please remember to sign in so that I can count you for group and we will make sure that everybody gets counted, everybody gets credit. A little noisy here yet, but like I say, we have
Does anybody know where Kristen is? She's out back. Yeah, I'm just why did it earn that way? Oh, he don't want it facing? No, he don't want it to look at the top. Oh. What time is it? 3. I was waiting on it. I got 14 days. 14 days.
Tell me that.
And then I'm adding 5,000.
We have 2 minutes to approve.
2 minutes?
2.
Okay, I'll go there in a moment.
2. Need to be in group.
I'll open. Do it. Well, doctor, I don't know if Dr. Gardner. Dr. Gardner. Before we start this morning, can I open with prayer?
Certainly may.
Okay, thank you.
We only have
Pastor, who went?
we only have one minute.
Yeah. I could say amazing.
So
with that being said, okay, I'm going to say a prayer real quick.
go ahead.
Dear Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you for waking us up. I want to thank you for all the ladies here, Father God. I pray that you give us the grace, and we thank you for your grace and your mercy. Just came from smoking, this day. So I don't know. Open our ears and our eyes and our hearts to what you want us to hear, Father God, and make us receptive in your name. And I just pray for all the women and their families on the outside, Father God. I just ask that you be with us. In the name I pray.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
Right.
We also want to pray for all those folks who had so much junk going on in Kerrville. All right, so we're here. We're getting into our group this morning. We're going to be looking at further looking into coping skills and stuff like that. And you over in south, you may not be able to see our little rendering up here, but what this shows us is that even when we're in our recovery, we can be kind of trapped. You know, the stuff that we do, the habits that we have, the addictions that continue to plague our lives, and all of that stuff can be a fence that holds us in. We can have a river that's not letting us go anywhere. We're out in a place where we're lost. So what are these things up here?
Birds.
You think?
What else would they be?
W's. Well, they're M's and W's is what they. Yeah,
the birds
look like outside. So yeah, that's what they're supposed to be representing as birds and all of that kind of stuff. But sometimes when we get out of treatment and we get back into the world, we kind of feel lost, you know.
Yeah.
We're kind of lost, and here's the thing: we need to understand that we don't need to be lost.
I'm scared.
We need to have some help when we're into this mess. This is not something we do by ourselves.
Right.
And we need to understand that. We just need to get a hold of the fact that, hey, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to get sober, if I'm going to stay sober, getting sober is the easy thing. Staying sober, that's the big deal.
Yeah.
The difference is being in sobriety or being in recovery. So I want to be in recovery, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to be on page 60 this morning. How many people have a book?
Oh,
Me.
no.
Everybody got a book? You don't have a book? All right, who's your counselor?
I don't have one yet.
You don't have you don't even have a counselor.
It's not
Are you-
gonna be necessity, it's gonna be the other one. I can't remember.
I think
Casey.
Oh, mine's in
I think that's going to be one or the other. So let that person know that you need books.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mine's with my counselor.
We need a book. And same thing over at South. If you don't have a book, make sure your counselor knows you need a book because it is required for group. You have to have it.
Can I run go get mine from my counselor?
Does she have your book?
Yeah, she has mine.
Yeah, go get your book. So there's some things on page 60 that I want us to look at this morning real quickly, and then we're going to look at some things that I want us to see that I think are really important for us to know. And some of them you may not understand it until we get going, but you will after a while. So on page 60 it says, "What are 3 ways in which your addiction threatens your personal independence?" You see where that is? Mm-hmm. So we're supposed to be working through here. Now, if you're brand new, you're not at this place yet, but you can still work it. And then you need to be going through your book because the book is really, really good. It has some really, really good stuff in it, and it will help you to move toward being in a real good quality recovery. Because we're not really interested. Here's the thing. Most of us have quit drinking or quit using 14, 15 times, right? Every time that I got too sick or every time I got too broke, I had to get sober. I didn't like it, but I did it, because out of necessity. But what we want to get you into is not sobriety, which is an easy thing. We want to get you into recovery. So we need to be going through the book. The book will help you get to that place. So just think about that for a minute. What are 3 ways your addiction threatens your personal independence? And if you'll notice, this lady here is lost out in the woods. Yeah, that's a girl. You see the long hair?
Oh, yeah.
The long hair.
That's how we look after a while.
And she don't have no beard or no mustache or anything like that.
Okay.
Although I did date a girl one time had a better mustache than mine. But this one does not have that.
She
so
smoked a lot of stuff.
you can see that. So that's how we know she's a girl, and she got the fence up here. Now I stopped the fence over here. If the fence is, what does that signify? The fence stops over there, but what does that signify?
She's not crossing the fence?
She's still behind the fence. She's still trapped, even though there's a way out. And so we do that to ourselves. We get ourselves trapped. We get ourselves caught, even though there's a way out. What's the way out?
Walk around it.
We can walk around the fence. Yeah, we can just walk around that thing there. We can also stop using.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can just look.
We figured that out when we started using.
Yeah, we can. If every issue that we have, the reason we are here, the reason the police comes to visit us from time to time, the reason our family says, "Hey, you know what? We can do without you."
Yeah.
The reason all of that stuff, the reason CPS comes by and say you don't need these children, the reason for all of that is the drugs and the alcohol. If we look, we'll tell ourselves 1,000 different times, it's not about the drugs. It's not about the alcohol. I'm just using that to help me what? Cope. That's what I'm doing. I'm using that to help me cope. And what that does, that doesn't help me cope. That gets me to a place of copelessness. Y'all got that? That gets me to a place where I cannot cope. When I can't pay my rent and I can't buy my groceries and I can't take care of my kids and I can't do what I'm supposed to do, that comes from most of our situation comes from the fact that we've got this other thing. Oh, every time I would look at, hey, you know what? My family needs this, but I've got this other thing. My job needs this, but you know what? I got this other thing. My wife, she really needs this, but I've got this other thing. So what's the other thing?
Sure.
What's the other thing that I've got? Alcohol and drugs. Yeah, that was in my life. That was the other thing. It was like having another person or another entity that I have made my God. You know, Jesus is my God right now. Okay,
Amen.
He's always going to be my God. I didn't mean to say it like He was just here for this, but He's going to be my God for eternity. But there was a point that alcohol and drugs were my God.
Yeah.
I bowed down to it and I prayed to it and I worshipped it and all of that kind of stuff. And it always got me right here.
Yep.
Right here. Right where I'm at right now. So we need to get to the place where we're going to do that. So here's some of the things. I wrote these down. This is the 3 things that my addiction threatens in my personal independence, not being able to do my own stuff. What am I talking about when I say, in my addiction, I can do my own stuff? What am I talking about? Life. I couldn't do banking.
Right. Paying your bills.
I couldn't pay my bills.
Follow the law.
Couldn't follow the laws of the land. Somebody out there had the audacity to tell me that you cannot use the drug that you want to use and then drive your vehicle. What are you talking about? I'm old enough to do whatever I feel like I'm old enough to do. Okay, and that's still true. But the deal is, the police still come to see me from time to time.
Yeah, me too.
Say you're not supposed to do that. So I couldn't cook. It wasn't a real big deal that I couldn't cook and couldn't keep food in my house because when I was drinking, when I was using, I wasn't eating.
Right.
It ain't about eating, it's about using. Right? So what'd you have for lunch today? Vodka?
Yeah, exactly.
I had some vodka. Yeah, what'd you have for breakfast? Vodka. What'd you have for vodka? Somebody told me, I used to like a lot of bourbon and whatever I could drink and wine and whatever it was, but somebody told me, if you drink vodka, people can't smell it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
That's true.
That's not true.
Yeah. No.
But the other thing is, if you're stumbling and you can't speak right and you're puking all over everybody, they might get an idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Without being able to smell it.
And you can smell it.
But look,
Man.
yes, you still can smell it. One of the things that was helpful about that is that I would use a lot of breath mints, and that's about the only nourishment I was getting.
Wow, yeah.
Back when I was using, they didn't have them kind of things.
Oh,
they had
Altoids.
breath mints, but they didn't have no Altoids. Some crazy person somewhere came up with that. That's some crazy. So the other thing is, look, the second thing that I came up is my family not wanting to be around me.
Yeah.
That's one thing that my use of alcohol and drugs threatened was my family. Y'all know what a geographical escape is?
Escaping from a certain area?
Yeah, escaping from a certain area, but I wasn't escaping from the area. I was escaping from what?
Still reality.
Myself.
Yeah.
I was trying to get away from myself. The problem with that? Everywhere I went, there I was.
Yeah, that's so
I'm
true.
gone. I'm going to go over here. So look, moving from one town to the next town didn't help at all.
You were still there.
I was still there. And all of us in this room and in the other room over at South, we know where to go get the drugs.
Right.
We know where to go get the alcohol. And the alcohol's for sale everywhere. There's a little store right here. Just what is that? About 100 yards from us over there. If you go stumbling into there, they got enough alcohol in there to keep me busy for about 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah, as soon as I walked out there last time, I walked straight over there and got me a drink.
Sure, there's something right there, And look, we can continue to do that if that's what we want to do. But what we understand, what we need to understand is that we have the choice whether I want to be sober, whether I want to be productive, whether I want to be happy, or I want to be high.
Right.
Make a choice. Or there are people who are going, see, the choice seems obvious, doesn't it? It seems obvious. We all want to be sober. We all want to be able to take care of our kids and all of that kind of stuff. We were talking about the Kerrville thing down there. 28 children died down there. And those between the ages of 5 and 8. Just children. Well, they had a big flood down there. Flood came and washed everything away, and all of those kids died. Most of us still have our children at some place. In some way, in some situation, we still have them. And so, we need to understand how heartrending it is to lose your children, even if they're safe and happy. Right? It's still a heartrending thing. So, we need to understand that. My family not wanting me to be around them was a big deal. I did make my final geographical escape was to leave Mississippi and come all the way to Texas. Did it work? No, it didn't work. I was still, when I came over here, guess what they have in Texas that they also have in Mississippi? Alcohol and drugs. And it's even worse here. The old boys over in Mississippi, we used to run around. We knew where the moonshine spots were.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we knew what that was. But over here in Texas, these guys had stuff all over. I mean, there's stuff. It's what you do. There's nothing else to do in Texas but to drink. That's all they do. That's it. That's nothing else. They might do a barbecue a little bit or something like that, but most of the time, that's the big thing that's going on. I found that in Texas, Mississippi, they did some drinking. In Texas, they did some sober. And mostly not. It's the thing to do. So, but my family, I got away from my family. My family were all drunks and all of that kind of stuff. And after a while, I got to a place where I knew that I had enough. I had a big old wreck and went into the hospital for a while. When I got out of that, hadn't drank anything since then, and that's a good thing. Third thing, one of the things that threatens my personal independence is jail.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people out there that really seem to want to put me in jail. I don't understand it. I'm a nice old boy and all of that kind of stuff. I just like to drink and drive. I get me a little. There was a place back when I was using a whole lot where you could buy a sausage on a stick and then they'd stick a biscuit on the top of it. It wasn't a biscuit; it was a roll. Yeah, and so I'm driving. I'd go get me one of those things, start eating that, and you know what? In my addict mind, told me that hey, if I'm eating this sausage and eating this roll, if the police do stop me, they won't be able to smell the alcohol on my breath.
Yes, they can.
That ain't true.
No.
When the policeman pulled you over and he said, "Boy, you were going all over the road like you." So and then I have a bad tire. I don't know what. They're gonna know something ain't exactly right, and it don't make any difference if you've had 7 of those sausages. They don't know this boy ain't right or this girl's not right. Something,
Yeah.
they're gonna know something. That's why they pull you out of your car and say, "Walk that line,"
Yeah.
You say, "What line?" So
I need my lawyer.
maybe going to jail. And then, what problems, on page 61, it says, what problems have you had because you neglected or avoided daily living tasks or relied on others to do them for you while actively engaged in your addictive behavior? There's a lot of people who put a lot of stuff down there. In my own personal opinion or my own personal situation, body odor. If you don't bathe long enough, people can tell.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you don't bathe, people know. You don't brush your teeth, people know that. If you don't do what you're supposed to, if you don't take a shower, people know that.
Yeah.
After a while, if it's been 8 weeks since you had a bath, people gonna know that. There's gonna be a green fog that follows you around.
Yeah.
Flies will come over, and some of them will die from the experience. You're gonna know that. So people are going to know that. So that's one thing that I had in my repertoire. I kind of smell a little funny because I didn't have a place to live. I was homeless for quite a while. And that's the other thing that happened to me. I was homeless and I was living under a house.
Under a house?
I was living under a house, and that was pretty. It's not good. I mean, it was a nice house, but it was still under the house. And it was nicer up in the house. But then I met a young lady who let me move into the back of her grandmother's antique shop. A little bitty room in the back, no heat. No heat. It was an antique shop. It's the middle of winter, and under the house, moving from under the house to inside of a back unheated room was like paradise. I wasn't getting rained on. The wind wasn't blowing on me. All that kind of crazy mess. So, some of those things, that's some of the stuff that addiction brought to me and said, here's you a gift.
Yeah.
Some of the gifts that addiction has given me, I can do without.
Exactly.
I'm going to tell you this. That was back when I was very young, but look, I'm 71 years old. I don't want to live under nobody's house no more. Right. I don't want to even live, and I've been under my house. I don't even want to live under my house. I want to live in the house. In the house, there's warmth. In the house, there's cool. In the house, there's TV. In the house, there's food. In the house, there's coffee. In the house, there's those things. Yeah, and there's a bathroom. When you're outside, there's some stuff where where am I going to the bathroom? That's some stuff that, those things come along. Where am I going to go to the bathroom? And I'm going to tell you, I can remember being under the house trying to get behind one of those pillars so that it would block a little bit of the wind, because even if you're under the house, the wind still gets under there if there's nothing around it to keep the wind from coming. And being so hungry that I was more concerned about not having any food than I was about freezing to death. So, those were gifts. I don't want those anymore. Yeah. I'm not living under the house anymore. I'm not going to do that. Here's the deal. Things can happen. I might live under a house, but I'm going to tell you what, it's not going to be by my choice. No. It's not going to be because I'm using drugs and alcohol. Yeah. Because I'm done with that. And we need to be done with it. Now, I'm not going to point out who said it, who did it. I'm not going to point out who it might be. I don't want y'all to think of anybody. I'm not pointing out anybody. But somebody asked the question the other day. Somebody, whoever that person might be, said, well, how long do I have to stay sober before I can have my next drink? So how long do I need to stay sober? How long do we need to stay sober before we can have something to drink?
Yeah,
it don't work. It don't work like that.
No, it sure.
I have to stay. There's a choice. It's either sober or not, right. And I need to stay sober for the rest of my life.
Yes.
When I die, I want them to put on my tombstone, "Here lies Dr. Garner, extremely, excruciatingly good-looking guy who died sober." Yeah, I'm going to die sober. I want to die. If I die today, I'm sober right now. Right. If I die, I'm talking to God about. The Bible says I can live to be 120 years old. Okay, let's live that long. Yeah. Let's go ahead on and do that. But I'm going to be sober. Right. Yeah. Those days. And when I get about 115 years old, when you're getting old and stuff, and somebody comes up and says, well, how you doing, Doc? I must say, I'm sober. Right now, the biggest thing is what? Sober. You're sober. That's the biggest thing that should be in my life. It should be like the number 2 thing in my life. It's got to be a big thing, right? Got to be like number 2. God is number 1 for me. Amen. The Lord Jesus is number 1 for me. Because if it wasn't for Him, I'd be going to hell. If it wasn't for Him, I would not have my sobriety. I wouldn't be here. No, I would not. I would have died many, many moons ago. All of that kind of stuff. So anyway, number 2 is sobriety. That's got to be. We need to be focused on being. Oh.
Yes.
We're going to do that. Now, here's the deal. We're going to get out of here after a while. This is a great place to be. You know, they feed me, put you in. They got a nice bed. They got showers. They got all of this kind of stuff. So all of those things that we need, they're right here. Mm-hmm. We got that. We've also got some people who care about whether or not I live or die. That's one of the things that we want to do it's not just, hey, here's how you ought to do it. We want to say, we want to be part of your life. We want to say, hey, this is how you do it, and we're going to help you get through it. Mm-hmm. Right? And we're here. And if something happens, you get outside and the world slaps you back down you can come back.
Yeah, I've been here 4 times.
Yeah, you've been here 4 times.
Yeah.
That's the limit. No more. After this, you're done.
You're done.
You're done. It's on you.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. No.
No, it's not true. We don't want, look, we love everybody in this one, and we love everybody over the other, and we love everybody down at the Melton Center, but we don't want you to come back.
Right.
We want you to come back as a counselor. We want you to come back as a visitor, but we don't want you to come back. We want you to get through here. We want you at some point to get it. Yeah. You know, at some point enough
is enough.
Is enough. So when you get out of here, there's some things you have to do. And we hadn't been doing them all that well, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, y'all know when I got sober and I got straight, I never relapsed. That's not true. That's not true. I did my share of relapsing and all of that kind of stuff. But I will tell you at some point, okay, enough's enough. Mm-hmm. I got to the place after I had that wreck, I knew I'm going to die. This is going to kill me. I flipped my car 6 times. Damn. Trying to outrun another guy. Had been in a blackout, and I saw this guy. I woke up. I was in a blackout. I woke up for just a second, and there was a car on the highway up ahead of me. And I remember this just like it was yesterday. I know I can outrun that guy. Okay. So then I went back into the blackout. Don't remember anything until I woke up in the hospital. I flipped my car 6 times. My leg was up over my shoulder, knocked out a bunch of my teeth, put some all, it was just not a good thing. So when I woke up, guess what was on my mind? Now I woke up and I was just scared to death because I knew I have done something. I know I have to get a DWI for that. I have to get some other stuff.
Yeah, accidentally killed somebody.
I could have killed somebody. I don't know what's going on. I know I'm hurt, so I know my car is probably hurt. And so it was completely total. And I'm waiting for the police. I know they're coming. So I'm waiting on the police. So, okay, come on. Waiting on the police. So after about 2 hours of just waiting on the police, oh my God, I know they're coming.
That's a terrible feeling.
Yeah, the doctor came in and he says, "How you doing, Dr. Garner?" Uh-oh, he knows who I am. I'm great. I feel good. Ed, thank you. He said, "Your leg don't hurt?" I said, "No, I feel good." So, they made me walk up some stairs and stuff, and I was able to do that. It hurt every moment of every step was horrible. And they said, "Okay, down you go." And they let me out of the hospital. I did not get a DWI.
Wow, grace of God.
By the grace of God. It was just a God thing. But after that, that was the last drink I had, and I said, "Okay."
That was his way of seeing. Let's where you go with this.
Absolutely.
I just saved your butt. Let's see what you do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will tell you this: that without God, I wouldn't be here. I certainly wouldn't be doing the things I'm doing. But when I got out, guess what? Look, guess what I ran into when I got out of here. When I got out of treatment, when I got out of the hospital, I knew that I needed something, so I went and got some help. And then when I got back into the world, I figured out, look, I need what?
Help.
More help. Because once we get this help here, that's what? That's a really good beginning. This is a good beginning. But this is not everything there is. So when I walk out that front door, just like this young lady said, about 100 yards from here, I can get high again. So here's the deal. I'm not going to be able to make it on my own. So, like we were talking about yesterday, we need some social support.
Yes.
We need to get some help. And, like you said, you've been through here 4 times.
Yeah, since
Yeah.
2016, yeah, I've been on and off.
Well, I guess if they, maybe you just like the food a lot. Food's pretty good and all of that kind of stuff. But it's not because we like this so much. It's because we like that so much.
Yeah.
Right.
I will tell you this. I like using. I do. But I will tell you this. I like life more than I like losing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I have to make that choice. I'm either going to live or I'm going to use. There's no in between. There's no in between for us. It's either all or nothing. So here's the thing. Social support, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. I want to talk about it a little bit more today. Social support is the help provided by family sometimes. Friends sometimes. Groups, communities, this help can fulfill emotional, tangible, informational, or social needs. We have all of those. Is it now, y'all don't get mad, don't get excited, don't get angry, don't throw anything. Is it absolutely necessary for me to go back to my family? No, it's not. You're not. Look, here's the deal. Are you going to die if you don't see grandma again?
No.
Are you going to die if you don't see brother or uncle or aunt? Look, I'm not telling you that family's not important. They are, but they also can be a source of carrying you right back to where you were. Yeah, right back to where you were. Yes. My family, look, my dad's an alcoholic, my mom's an alcoholic. They're both dead now, but both of them were alcoholics. My brother was an alcoholic. All of that. So that's why I had to do a geographical escape. So I got away from those people. It's not about the area I needed to get away from too, but it was more about the people than it was about going. Because every time I get a little bit sober, my brother, my mom, my dad, somebody would always offer me something. And let me tell you something, as an addict, you know how hard it is to turn that something down?
Yeah.
It's pretty hard. And my mother, God rest her soul, she would do things like, I know that you need a little something. Yeah. And did I need a little something? Yes, I did. I needed it. My addiction was telling me that if I did not have a little something, I was going to die. And here's my sainted old mother who carried me 9 months in her womb saying, here's a little something. Okay. Really good. My mom and dad, they used to... We'd ride around sometimes, and they would both drink out of not a fifth, but out of a quart of beer. They drank the beer, and Mom also dipped snuff, and she'd drink out of one, and she'd spit in the other one. And what my little brother and I would do while they were driving, or while they were sitting wherever they were, sometimes went to the movies and stuff, and they had drive-ins back then, we'd reach around the seat and grab their beer and have a couple of swigs off of their beer. And then put it back, and they'd never noticed that. So even at a young age, I started drinking when I was 8. My little brother started when he was 5.
Oh my Lord.
Well, we had a real bad car wreck. Mom was in the hospital for a whole year. And so Dad didn't know how to deal with us. So he gave us moonshine and cigarettes,
Wow.
Yeah. That's what my mom would do too. The lady said that her mom made those toddies. Mom would put some butter and some sugar and some booze in a little cloth thing, and then you'd stick it in your mouth and suck on it. And you know that butter and sugar will make you feel good.
No, it won't.
But that other stuff in there, did. we felt really good. But I reached around there one day and I got a hold of that bottle of of beer, and I turned that up. After about the third slug of that, I figured out that was the one she was spitting in, not the one she was drinking.
I've done that before.
They got me in trouble because I went. Mom said, Dad pulled over. What are you doing? Yes, sir. But here's some of the benefits of a social support team. Now, you got to make sure you got the right thing, because sometimes family is not the right people. Sometimes we need to get to that. And I have people get angry with me about that all the time. And about 15 years ago, I came to the place where it's okay, get angry. I don't care. Yeah. If you get angry when somebody tells you the truth, that's your issue, not mine.
Exactly.
You got to deal with that. But so sometimes family can be a lifeline for you. Sometimes family can be those people that you really need in your life. Sometimes not.
Yeah.
Sometimes not. You need to know the difference. And then the other one, friends. Go ahead. Yeah. So some of them are using just as much or more than we are.
I'm the only one who did it, so I get the harsher judgment.
Yes. Yeah. And I have people who use drugs in my family for medical reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, they insane. Because when I'm in my addiction, that's insanity. Because we do know that what we're doing is insane. The big book says, we got to get away from this insanity. So using drugs, knowing what drugs do to us.
Thinking a different outcome is the same.
Yeah. It's insane. So also it says, look, friend, is it okay to go back to your friends?
No.
You need to look. Again, you need to take a look there. Y'all have any friends that are still drinking?
Yeah.
You have any friends who are still using?
Yep.
Let me ask you a quick question. Why?
They haven't been here.
They haven't been here. Why do you still have friends who are drinking or using?
They're not ready.
So why do you have friends who are still drinking or using?
That's
their lifestyle.
That's friends.
Why do you have friends?
You don't.
Here's the deal.
Those are the only type of people we're used to being around.
Say it again.
Yeah. That's the type of people we're used to
They're the type of people we're used to being around. Yeah. All of those are good reasons. All of those are probably not the reason. That's their lifestyle, but that doesn't mean I have to be their friend if that's their lifestyle. Look, y'all don't get angry. If you get angry, I'm going to put you in treatment for anger management.
Might need a little bit of that.
Might need a little bit of that. Well, I'm a CART, so we'll do some anger stuff at a little bit later thing. That's a certified anger resolution therapist, and so we'll get you all lined out for that. But here's the deal: the reason we still have using friends is we need a connection for that drug. We know where the drug is now. If we don't want to use, if we're through, if we're completed, those friends are never going to hear from us again. They're done. They're gone. They're out of there. But if there might be a chance that we might still want to use, we're going to keep Babette in our circle of friends. Well, I just love her. She's just such a good person. Now, she's an addict now. You know that. She drinks all day long. She uses all kind of drugs, all that kind of stuff. But she's basically just a good person. Give you shirt right off her back. Now, I don't want some old sweaty, addicted person's shirt to start with. But that's none of it. Because we know when I go over to her home, she's going to be high. Yeah. And she's going to say, I know you're trying to get sober, and I know you're trying to get right, so I ain't going to offer you nothing. But is it her offering you something that's going to be a trigger for you?
No, you being there around it.
That person that you have used with in the past is the trigger. She called you on the phone and triggered you to do it. Just the thought of that person, they're triggered. So the reason we're keeping that, because we intend to use again, and we know we can get it from them. So look, if you look, y'all, look, if you still have using friends, if you still have using friends that you intend to go back to, you're not ready to quit yet. You have decided. Look, we all know that relapse doesn't happen. It starts a long time before that, and we're already getting prepared to relapse. We're in here thinking, I wonder what Mary Ann's doing. I wonder how she is. I just want to go make sure she's all right. You know, she got those two little sweet children. I want to go make sure her little children are being fed. You see, all of that's you lying to you about what you want to do, because what you want to do is use drugs.
You sitting right there with her doing whatever y'all do.
Exactly, and it may not happen the first time. Mm-hmm. And that'll be for you a guarantee to you that, Dr. Garner's an idiot. He told me if I come over here, I was going to get high. I didn't. I didn't get high. I came over. I met with her. I talked to the children. I made sure they were bathed, gave them some food, and then I got out of there, and everything was fine. So what does that tell me? I can go back and visit to my old friend.
Mm-hmm. Can't do it.
And the next time, or the time after that,
they say
you don't do it. Yes, ma'am.
And that's so true. Yeah, true. My best friend, she lives in Reno. But we still talk every day. Yeah. I looked at it as 2 miles away, talk every day. But she had to come down here. The first time she came down was to take care of some stuff. And we go out to eat, and she drank in front of me and everything. And I did have that, I didn't want none, sure. I didn't this. But that thought, I had to pray it off and everything else. I couldn't wait. And this second time she came down, but the week before she came, even though we're talking on Zoom, guess what she was doing on Zoom? Drinking. She was, and that's what the battle I was fighting with. Like you say, it's just, even though she's miles away, because I was like, okay, she's miles away, I could talk to her on the phone. Yeah. But what's she doing while I'm talking to her on the phone, or while I'm on Zoom, or while, even though I'm way in Beaumont, Texas, she way in Nevada. Sure. But think the romances.
Think about
she came down when I said I came in there fighting on.
Think about that.
Put that up my nose.
Think about that, though. Mm-hmm. See, the deal is, it doesn't matter if she's in Nevada, Canada, Cucamonga, doesn't make any difference. When you think about her, or when you call her on the phone, then they trigger you, even their voices, talking to them on the phone, thinking all that's triggered. Yeah. So look, I know you love the person in the bottle, but you need to leave her in the bottle. Leave her over there. I mean, there are some family members, and there are some friends that you might need to get away from.
Yeah, we had our real first argument, and I love her, but I know I gotta let her be. And
I can love some people without them being around me. I have 5 sisters and 2 brothers. Wow. One of them I go visit with from time when I go back to Mississippi. I go visit with my sister, my oldest sister, and I never get triggered by visiting with my older sister, and I never have an issue. She never tries to get me to use anything. She never argues with me. She never causes me any problem. Of course, she did, and that helps. I go and visit with her in the graveyard. She don't ever say anything. She just kind of lay there. But
no, ma'am.
All the rest of them are still alive and everything. And I haven't seen those people in 30 years.
Wow.
Look, my family is my family, not. My wife and my kids and all of that. Not those people I grew up with, that I was drinking and doing all of that stuff.
And you know what? It just hit me while I was sitting there. It's not even that, like I said, I love her to death and she loves me. And it's not that it's just not her time. Where I'm at right now is not her time. But I gotta love her from a distance right now because she's not on the level that I'm on. And pray that one day she catches up, because she have in her own way went through treatment and different stuff, but she did back out there. I've had somebody that we're close today now, but when they quit doing what they were doing and I was still drinking, They quit answering my phone calls and stuff, but as soon as they realized I was getting better, like the last year when I was clean and sober and everything, they talk to me.
Yeah.
But if I go back out there, they gotta cut it off right then and there.
And they're
so
not
it's
coming.
Not that they gone forever. It's just you gotta leave them where they at that moment to be.
Well, and that's true. There's some of them that's going to go out there and it's going to get better, and you can get back with those folks. But here's the deal: there's 8 billion people on the face of the earth who can make other friends. You don't have to have that person.
Yeah, all my friends
here's the deal.
Here's
the deal. If you know, like you said, I love her to death and she loves me to death. Well, don't kill each other.
Yeah.
But that's a terrible saying. But you know, these people who love you to death, they come right with you and they go out and eat with you and drink wine in front of you. They don't love you that much because they're not trying to help you at all.
Yeah.
They're trying to get their own self high and they don't care what happens to you. Their addiction is more important to them than you will ever be. And the reason we stay connected with the people that we love, because look, there's still one more of those relapses in us. So we need to look at that, be truthful with ourselves and say, hey, if I really love that person more than I love my own life, then I'm going to go back to that person and let them kill me. But if not, then I'm gonna just kind of slide. See if life is worth living without that other person, and it just might be. So some of the things, there's some benefits of social support, and look, we need, and just because of that, look, we know. We need social support. We are social animals. And just like that, we know that we're going to go back and love on some of those people that's going to threaten our sobriety, threaten our very life, threaten our very existence, just because we're social people. Yeah. We need to be social with other people. Yeah. You know, when I meet people, first thing I tell people when I meet people, I tell them 2 things. First off, I'm a Christian. I want you to know who I am. I'm a Christian. And, you know, I don't do a lot of cussing. I do some Christian cussing, but I don't use that kind of mess. You know, and I'm also I am an alcoholic. So, hey, the deal is, if you do a lot of drinking, you do a lot of using any kind of thing, we can't be friends.
Yeah.
I don't want to be friends with somebody who's a real heavy social drinker. If you're a social drinker, go socially drink somewhere else. You can't drink with me.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I don't want, because you know what? If you do, I used to go out and eat with this guy all the time, his wife and my wife and myself, and he would go and eat. And we were out, we'd done that for a year, and he said, hey, do you mind? Now he knows I'm in recovery, right? Do you mind if I have a drink? What'd I tell him?
No.
Yeah. You full grown. You know, you're full grown, man. If you want to have a drink, you have it. You go ahead and have it. So he got him a double bourbon and Coke. Do you think that bothered me when they brought that double? They had it on a tray like it was something special, and they set it down on the table in front of him. Y'all think that bothered me?
No.
It bothered me. It bothered me. Then he took, and they had a swizzle stick in it. For some reason, he pulled the swizzle stick out. Oh, goodness. And then he...
tiptoe.
This thing here, y'all excuse me.
Oh, it's his thing?
But it...
Thank you.
The battery's going dead.
Uh-oh.
Something ain't right.
Charge that battery.
Oh, this thing was not on. Maybe that'll help. All right. Anyway, he took the swizzle stick out and put it over on the table. Then he took his finger and he stirred up his drink with the finger. Yeah, he did all of that, and I could hear the ice going clankety, 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 clank, and then he went. What? Did that bother me?
Yes.
Yes, it did. I wanted to chew that man's finger off. Yeah, I wanted to drink that one. I wanted 9 more. So we went ahead. I didn't do anything stupid. We went ahead. And then the next week when he said, hey, where are we going this week? So we ain't going anywhere.
That's right.
He said, it's because of that bourbon. And I said, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. You knew. You know who I am. We have not looked. When we see each other now, his name's Scott. It's, hey, Scott. Hey, Herschel. We don't go out anymore.
Yeah.
We don't do that. And haven't done it in years. And good friend of mine. But look, if you don't respect the fact that I'm in recovery too, you don't look, you can drink a whole gallon of booze. You don't have to have me around when you do it.
Yeah.
So anyway, here's some things that's going to help. Benefits of social support, improve physical health. How's it going to improve my physical health? If I'm dealing with other people, I'm going to have to get up and go do something. I'm going to have to get up, maybe go bowling. I'm going to have to get up and maybe go this. I'm at least going to have to drive over to their house. I'm going to get up off of my buttocks and do something.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, I said, I used to tell people, go and get up, walk over, and change the channel yourself. You can't do that on TV anymore. You've got to use that little thing, so you're going to have to get up and walk around your couch or something. But we need to have some physical activity in our life, and this will help us to do that. And so, it also gives us a good feeling of security. Yes, ma'am.
Like this morning, I got up and I exercised, and
I
feel more than awake. I said I would say I was a 9, but I said, you know what? No, I'm actually a 10 today.
Yeah.
Because I just feel good. You
will feel well. If you exercise, it's going to help you feel well. I go work out 3 times a week. I know everybody can tell. I went this morning, and I go to an old folks gym. People get, you're gonna do this exercise. You're gonna bench press all of this stuff. Here, hold my walker. You put your walker over on the side and bench press. Yeah. What are you bench pressing? 7 pounds. Now I'm up to 7 pounds. But I went today and I worked out, and I do feel much better about it.
It makes me where my heart is regulated better, and I'm not if sometimes you see me when I walk, I scoot my feet instead of picking my feet up.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. That I see a lot of people that slide their feet.
Yes,
it's good exercise for you. Just pick your feet up.
Yeah. Yes.
Just pick your feet up.
With me exercising, it makes me do that.
Sure. It's just a good thing to do. You get a feeling of security, knowing there's someone there.
Yeah.
Who cares for you. And I told the story yesterday that, I have friends in my life that I can go get their vehicle.
Yeah, or stay
that makes me feel good.
Right.
Yeah, I can go get it. Now, here's the reciprocal of that. They can come get mine. Now, they can't get my wife. She just bought her a new 2025 truck. I can't buy it. I can't drive it. So they can't come, but they can come get mine. And, and so that's reciprocal, but it's a good feeling of security. Somebody has my back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Somebody out there's got my back. So I need to know that. That's why I need to get me a good sponsor. Good sponsor. Ma'am?
You don't have a sponsor yet?
Yes, I have a sponsor. I was talking about you. We need to get out of here and get a good sponsor. So what does your sponsor look like?
She's got short hair.
She got short hair.
If anybody does need a sponsor, I do have a list right here.
Okay. We have a list of sponsors over here. What's the first thing about your sponsor?
She
looks like what I want. What is she?
She has to be a female.
Yeah. She does have to be female.
Yeah. She's got 25
got to be of the same gender.
Right.
She's got 25 years.
And if guys over at South, they have to be guys for you. I can just see somebody's eyes light up. Oh, they got to be female. But how long should they be sober?
Over 5 years.
5 years is good.
Mine is 25.
25 years, yeah. At the very least, 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
At the very least.
That's where I messed up.
3 years.
I'm sponsoring 6 months clean.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah,
y'all both struggling together.
well, and I have seen people with a sponsor who had 6 or 8 months claim, and that doesn't work.
I've had
So
4 months.
That's not even
we
what
have-
y'all said.
we have a feeling of security because we have a good social support system. Secondly, look, we have greater resilience to stress. What does resilience mean?
You don't get it.
What's the matter? What is it?
How much you can take?
Resilience. What is it?
You don't
How much you can
don't
take?
affect you.
Yeah. You have the ability to tough it out.
Yeah.
You have the ability to do it. You have the ability to stay in your recovery even when recovery is crappy.
Indeed.
Recovery is crap. It can be crappy sometimes.
Yeah.
It can be. But here's the deal. If I am resilient,
It was crappy yesterday.
I can stay in my recovery even if it's crappy. Even if it don't feel good. So look, it ain't gonna feel good. Sometimes it's not gonna be more. It's gonna be more than not feeling good. It's gonna feel downright nasty sometimes. If I have that resilience, then I can stick with it until I get past that point, because you will get past. How long does a craving last?
For 1 hour.
No,
Forever?
years, no, a couple of minutes.
Usually
1 hour.
1 hour is as long as it's never going to
Mine's
lose.
always like I always crave, no matter what.
Well, if you
I
do,
always want alcohol, no matter how.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, no matter
The
how long
longer
I'm
you
in
go,
recovery.
Excuse me, there are ladies who are not pregnant try to stay put till after group 2 the bathroom. That's just what it works. I mean, you had an exception. I think I got a big baby on her gut.
I take medicine.
She was like, I was like, okay, I'll tell you.
When I gotta pee, I
I
gotta
was
pee.
like,
let me,
I
let
feel
me,
like I crave
Stay,
all
watch
the
the pee before group. You're an exception because you're baby. But I'm like, and
Her who?
Yeah.
the one from the front.
Be sure.
Cheryl.
Yeah.
let's pull it
I
back.
always would.
She just so
Bring it back,
lady.
Bring it back.
Bring it back.
But it starts with
If
What I missed. Everything.
if we have to go potty, we have to go potty. It is a better thing. Look, I'm 71 years old,
You don't
and when
really-
somebody says pee, I can. You know, it's just the way it is. When you get my age, plus I drink copious amounts of coffee. But I can hold it for a couple hours. I can do that. If you cannot, there's folks in here that take medicine, stuff like that, then you're full grown. Yeah, you know, what we're teaching in here is the most important thing you're going to get today. But if you feel like you need to empty your bladder, I fully expect you not to do it here in the group room.
Hey, talk to Kara. She might.
So, we have
No, that was just in the police car.
we have greater resistance. We have greater resistance. We have greater resilience to stress. We're going to have stress in our life.
No matter
And
what.
those cravings are going to cause us a great deal of stress. Now, here's the deal. Is there a difference between craving and desire?
Yeah.
I think there
that's
is.
right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What's the difference?
Craving is a temporary thing.
Okay.
That's going to happen to you for maybe an hour, and then it's going to go away. We did a thing the other day called craving or urge surfing, where you can get through the urge and it's going to go away. But the desire to use, that's what you're suffering from. That desire can stay there all the time, every day, until you get to a place where you've had enough of it. I have a deep, deep desire, and I have a deep, deep craving for the better things of life.
Thank you.
Yeah,
For
I
the
mean,
good
I definitely do. I've been miserable. I've lived on the streets. I've been miserable. I know what the outcome to it is.
Yeah, but
But
after
exactly.
some point, that's going to stop, because your brain is just like her brain. It's just like my brain. It's just like her brain. Because so you are not unique in the way that your mesolimbic system works.
We all
So it will at some point go away. You just got to stick with it long enough for it to go away. But what happens is we tell ourselves that it won't. Now we got 7 people in here talking at and doing other stuff, and getting other people. Not only are we not paying attention, but we're finding other people. We're saying, "Hey, look what I'm reading here in the middle of group when I'm not supposed to be it. Look, you read this too. You don't need." Those are the things going to happen to us when we get out of here. Somebody's going to come up and do something and say, "Look what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm doing this, and I'm having a good time." And you go, "I know you. I know you. I know you. You can deal with it. You can have one beer. You've been sober for 10 days."
And it's not even lunch, it's brunch.
Yeah. So anyway,
Well, that gives those ladies to drink their mimosas with lunch and all this other reasons to drink because it's like this.
yeah. Go out and do all of those. And look, here's the deal. There are people out there that can go have a martini at night. That's okay. It's not us. It's not you. And you don't need to be going out with somebody that's gonna do that. My wife and I go to dinner theater, and we go and they have a pretty nice dinner, and then they'll have a theater. And sometimes that theater is really good, but sometimes it's not. And some of those people, when they get through with that, they go to the bar down the road.
Like a theater, like a movie theater, or a theater like plays?
No, it's a play.
These plays, okay.
Yeah, it's a play. We don't go to the bar. We'll eat with them, but they go out. We don't know them.
Yeah.
You said craving is a temporary thing.
Yeah.
Desire is what?
It's forever.
Forever.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Desire can last forever. Craving is not going to be there.
Yeah.
And I will tell you at this point, over a period of time, the desire for me to use something, not necessarily my drug of choice, but anything, was there for a long time. At this point in time, I have no desire to use any kind of drugs, alcohol. I don't need that because I can look back in my past and I know what's going to happen. I ain't living under no house. I'm not going to go 14 days without food unless I want to.
Can I borrow your highlighter? Just for 1 second. You might. I don't have cooties. This is an important one because I got to remember.
So, here's a couple other things real quickly.
Thank you.
If we have a good social support system, the people who are not high or drunk or all of that stuff is going to help my self-esteem. How many people know that as an addict, I can get into low self-esteem real quick?
Yep.
I can do that real quick. I can feel real bad about myself. How do I fix that?
Call someone.
What is it?
Call someone.
Call somebody. I need to get out of that look because I'm going to tell you something. There's a couple of things we need to know, and then we're going to take a break. But every one of us, are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Amen.
You are an amazing piece of machinery that was made by the God of the universe. You are deeply, deeply loved by God Almighty.
Amen.
You are something special, and you need to know that.
Yeah.
You need to know that you are something special. So you walk around telling yourself that you are something special.
Yep.
I'm a mighty, spiritual, powerful man of God. That's who I am. Some people say, well, now you're an addict. Yeah, that may be, but I'm a powerful, spiritual man of God. That's who I am.
That don't make it
I'm a
less
good dad.
Or an addict.
No, it doesn't make any difference. I'm a good dad. I'm a good husband. I'm a good employee. You need to be saying those things about yourself. And I've had people tell me in the past, well, I ain't going to lie about it. Well, maybe you should, because other than that, you ain't much.
Right.
That's one more thing. I'm not a liar. These are my goals for myself. I'm a good husband. I'm a good father. I'm a good granddad. These are my goals for myself. So whatever your goals are for yourself, that's what, look, I'm sober. I'm not craving. When you say to yourself, I crave all the time, guess what happens? That comes out of your mouth, goes into your ears, and you crave all the time. So you don't need to be convincing yourself that you are having issues with your craving. You need to be convincing yourself rather that you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The fact that you eat one cookie, does that mean you have to eat the pack?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
You
Yes.
don't. So you don't need to be saying that I can't just eat one cookie. Yes, you can. You need to be saying to yourself, you can do
I'm
it.
only eating the one cookie. I'm
Yeah.
only eating the one.
Yeah. I'm going to eat this one. All right, look, we're going to take about a 15-minute break. So y'all come back after you have poisoned your system,
Yes.
and we will continue
With
along.
the other drug.
Yeah.
Cigarettes.
Well, they should let us vape.
I can't even do that.
A vaping's no good for you either.
No.
It gives you popcorn lungs. People every day.
So does all the
really?
refinery air that we breathe. So,
Oh, that's a good excuse. Yeah, I can do all this because I live near a refinery.
Right?
That's right. You know when you tell your story about the hospital? That's it. Right from the casino in Louisiana, on my way home, got in a bad car wreck, woke up 2 days later. Lake Charles. Nobody down here knew where I was, because it was one of my little getaways. That was my thing. Not to go get in a wreck, but getaway. And woke up, busted liver, ICU, everything. And that was the first thing I thought about. Did I kill somebody? Did I'm going to jail? I'm in Louisiana. Nobody's gonna know what I was. A nurse came and prayed for me. Came and prayed with me. She was like, you know what? Out of every
Sandra needs
you. Okay.
That man trying to get in your room, so she needs you to move some other yes.
A basket.
No, I.
But out of everything that I could have worried about, that was my mind. She was like, that's so honorable that you're not even worried about your health, your this and that. It was, I'm going to jail. I didn't go to jail, but I did get put on probation. But the stupidest thing I heard was in Louisiana, they care so much about people drinking. You sell them 24 hours a day.
I used to do that all the time when I go in a blackout, driving my truck.
Mm-hmm. I blacked out apparently. Yeah.
I walk around my truck, see if there's any blood on
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah,
I know.
When I finally.
Yeah, that was a hard thing.
Excuse me. Just right here, please. Everybody just hang on, read this shit. Pen is fine. I just want to remember. Cigarettes. All the same.
Want those chips?
Ruby, give me a baggie. Oh God, shit, get it together. How did you sleep last night?
That's alright.
No, I slept like a baby. I had a good dream.
Tell me what's up.
Okay. That's all I'm trying to move with. Baby, you look good.
Huh?
Yeah, it was
Some things y'all don't live for, I say you need to say. Like, you can't have this. I say, I never told myself. They gave it to a finish 12 days. Y'all gave us the basket I brought in. They want us to use the white one, but remember I came in with my own lunch, and they gave it to.
Just like she told me we can't have
I
Germans.
didn't inventory myself.
Just like she said we can't have Germans because they left my Germans in the first.
Yeah.
I need to sign in.
Okay.
So some things you just don't even know.
I just said, okay, yes ma'am.
Now, if I was drinking,
A little bit different.
well, you gave it to me.
Yeah, I'm trying with my exercise. I'm gonna do like starting out little by little, and then work my way up. Like put 5 more on. Like this morning I did 30 sit-ups. So tomorrow I'm gonna do 35. And then when I did push-ups, I had to do 10 and stop, and then do 10 more. Tomorrow.
I did work my arms this morning, and it was pretty hard, but I have to go 20 miles in the wrong direction to go to my gym. But I go there. It's an old folks gym, but it's got enough stuff for me to work out with, and my insurance covers it.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's free. So that's good stuff. It's a wellness center, just like we are a wellness.
I'm saying you must have the wellness medicator insurance.
Say it again.
You have wellness insurance?
Yeah, I work for the prison system for 16 years. And I retired from out there, and their insurance is outstanding.
You work for the prison? I know what you do.
Yeah.
How long do you work for the prison?
16 and a half years. Yeah, I was the director of the program out there. It was at LeBlanc. So I was there for the first 13
So we're
years.
back for lunch, too.
Retired, got out of there.
Is it good or
Then I went back.
Same thing every day.
Working for NCC.
They have to just do.
was it seasoning or what?
I really liked MTC. They're a good company.
Food banking too.
Oh,
In the packs or whatever. Hey, I love those.
where'd you work?
What?
Yeah,
It's so favorite the chicken noodle is I've had it once.
She said she was gonna try to do a taco soup.
Today she's doing chicken salad. She's doing chicken salad today? Oh, thank God. And I think tortilla soup. Yes. Thank goodness.
They used to cook it up in this house. I'm talking about they used to fried chicken. I mean, the girls that come in here and be like,
They let me cook, I do it.
huge. I got up to 190 pounds in here.
I know how to be the fried food. I know how to be the grilled food.
Yeah.
I can work it all. Nauseous right now. I would love to take that hamburger meat they got in there right now and make us up some grilled onions. Make us a hamburger steak with grilled onions and brown gravy.
Oh my God.
And mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Don't stay.
Let's make me a burger.
Well, I've had some
What I crave is pregnancy. Burgers and fries.
We have burgers. They make burgers with little white
But they don't have onions. That's what's up. And that's what I think.
They used to have onion and everything.
I know.
we went through a transition where the food that we serve is nutritious, and there's a lot of stuff we don't want a whole lot of fried food, stuff like that. I do know that we have sandwiches sometimes, but there's all of it has been checked out and is nutritious and everything is what it's supposed to be. So you're not going to come in and balloon up and do those things. Why did you put that on?
That's good because it was outrageous when they were done. It was like
I'll take his. I'll take his. Well,
all right.
Thank you.
We're going to get started back.
I like that they have the salad off the officer.
Yeah, we have a salad bar. That's all good.
I eat every day.
All right, we're starting back, and look, we're going to be a little bit more focused, so y'all stick with me. We're going to because we only have 45 more minutes to do the next the rest of this, and what's problematic is see the thing here. I got that much of it done. So we got a lot more to do. We may not get it all done, and that's okay. But I do want to get the greater majority of it is done because there's something else that I want to share with you guys, and we may not get it done today. If we don't, we'll do it tomorrow. So there's some good things here. But we're going to have improved self-esteem. Why is that? Because if people like me, people care for me, people want to be my friend, it makes me feel better about me.
Right.
If people don't like me, nobody wants to be around me, then I feel bad about me. Mm-hmm. So I need to feel good about me. We have talked a couple of times about tutoring our own tutor, and we need to do that because here's the deal. If you don't speak well of yourself, no one else will do that either.
Exactly.
You need to know who you are, who you can be. Who you can be. And that's why we're using positive self-talk about ourselves. I may not be exactly who I want to be right now, but I can start telling myself and telling other people who it is that I want to be.
Right.
And as I tell myself who I want to be, that's going to come out of my mouth, it's going to go into my ears, and it'll convince me that I can be who I say I want to be.
Absolutely.
And so, I talk well about myself all the time. Sometimes people think it's egotistical. Sometimes they think I'm just kind of stuck up. But when somebody comes and asks me, well, what are you doing? How well are you? Can you do? Yes, I can do all things through Christ.
That's right.
It strengthens me. And so, hey, let's go, whatever it is. I'm not all that great at the computeration machine, but I'm getting better, and I'm going to get really, really good at it. And not only am I going to be able to operate the thing, I'm going to be a CT specialist. And then once I get all that done, when I get my CT certification, I'm going to go talk to my boss. At that point, I need Ray. Yeah, because hey, look, I'm really good at this, so I can do it, and I'm not. That's not egotistical. That's just the truth. You're the same way. You can do it 4 times. Let me tell you something. If you don't realize it, that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah.
Cut it out.
Yeah.
Cut it out. And get to the place where this, and you need to be telling yourself, this is my last time. I'm not coming back through this place. I'm going to be sober the rest of my life. I'm getting into real quality recovery. And that's where I'm going to stay. That's why I'm going to get rid of all these worthless, no count, lower than a snake's belly in a wagon rut, pieces of slime twins that still want to use. And they can use, but not with me. So we ain't doing that. And when my friend says, look, I love you, I'm going to love you to death. I know that I care about, and I ain't never going to use around you. At that point, you say, I know that. Because I ain't going to be around you. Because that person is still bowing down to the God of whatever their drug is.
Yeah.
And when I'm bowing down to my drug, that is my God, I don't care about you. Right. And you say, well, no. That person doesn't care about you. They care about their drug.
And no different than when we don't care about certain things.
Right. So here we're going to get a feeling of security. We're going to get improved self-esteem. We're going to have improved mental well-being. If I have a social support system, I can think better about myself. I can think better about me. I can think better about what's going on in my life. And I have greater, and this is really, really important.
What page are you on?
What is it saying? What?
What page are you on?
What page I'm not?
Here goes.
I have a piece of paper here that says all that stuff on it.
This is your book.
So anyway, here's the deal. Look, this is really important. So y'all just, if you don't pay attention to anything else, pay attention to this. We're going to have greater life satisfaction.
Yes.
I'm going to have satisfaction with my look. I might enjoy getting high. I might enjoy getting by. I might enjoy doing the crap that I do when I am out of my mind. But the thing is, if I'm going to have life, if I'm going to enjoy my life, if I'm going to have really good satisfaction in my, I got to be sober.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
I got to do it without drugs.
Correct.
And so I need to be at a place where I'm willing to do what it takes to do life sober.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people go crazy with me all of the time, but I will tell you that a lot of the time doing what it takes is not something that we like.
Right.
We talk about, now I'm not going to tell the guys over at South this ever again, but I'll tell you guys over here, and they'll have to listen to it. That may mean staying away from old people, places, and things.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the universal relapse triggers. What does the universal mean?
It's anywhere, everywhere.
Everybody. These relapse triggers apply to everybody.
Yep.
The very first one that we put on there was old people, because that's the hardest one. It's hard to get rid of old people. No, we live then. We live. What makes you fall in love with somebody?
Their drugs and
What love,
we love to go.
What makes you fall in love with somebody?
Go back to them.
You have within you a
They
deal
make me
called
laugh.
pheromones.
Yeah.
And when somebody stirs up your pheromones, you have a special feeling that you feel for them.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk away from those people and you're gone from those people for 20 years, 30 years, and you think about that person, those pheromones come back up. Because God meant for you to get married up with one person and stay with that person forever and ever and ever. So those pheromones are never going to completely go away. But we need to know that we can live without those people.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Even if it's hard.
Yeah.
So the decision that I have to make is whether I want to be alive or be with that person. And same thing with old people. I mean, old people's first one, but then we have old places and old things. Do I have to go back there? Do I have to go? Do I have to go to? No, there's not a place out there where you absolutely have to go. And there's not a thing out there that you absolutely have to do.
Right.
And I've told the story about the guy that used to get drunk every weekend on his boat. And he looked me in the eyeball and he said, "Are you telling me that I can't go fishing anymore?" Not if you get drunk every time you go fishing. Well, what am I supposed to do? Sell my boat or give it away? You could give it away. I'll take it. I'm willing, as your counselor, to help you. I will help you. Give me the boat, and I will take. Yeah, you need to get rid of the boat. I've had several boats. Guess what I did with them? I got tired of them. I sold them.
Yeah.
I got rid of them. My wife bought me a boat for Father's Day one time. She don't know anything about boats, but she bought me about a 30-foot boat. That's nice, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's nice. And then she bought me she went and bought me a little outboard motor to go on it. Do you know how far a 25-horse motor will push a 30-foot boat? Nowhere.
Not very good.
Not much about boats.
Yeah, so anyway, that's another motor and all of that kind of stuff. So you're going to have greater life satisfaction. You're going to be satisfied with things. Your children are going to grow up knowing that, hey, you know who they are and where they are and why they are, all of that kind of stuff. You're going to know those things. You're going to have just a better all-around life if you can stay away from that stuff and have that social support. Here's some of the things. These are types of social support. This is what you're looking for when we go out there. The first one is emotional support. How many people know that we, both sides, are emotional people? We're all emotional. And look, when you get emotional, what happens?
You start to feel.
Yeah, all that feeling and all of that junk comes up. Back in the past, we used our drugs and our alcohol and all of that kind of stuff to tamp down those feelings, to get them out of the way so we don't have to deal with them anymore.
Yeah.
But now they're going to come back alive. They're going to come out there and they're going to be there. We'll have to deal with them sober.
Right.
And that's kind of hard sometimes. But what we do when we get really emotional, we take those emotions and we put them out on top and we let our emotions override our intellect. And then what do? If your emotions have overridden your intellect, what would you do?
I don't know.
What is it? Go back to using drugs? Maybe so. When you let your emotions override your intellect, you'll do whatever you want to do. And as an addict, what do I want to do? I want my drug. I want the vodka. I want the marijuana I was using. I want all that mess back in my life because I have let my emotions get. What kind of emotions you think might override your intellect? All of them will. If you get angry, will that override your
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're angry, so I'll use it if I want to. Yeah. Get your feelings hurt. Well, nobody cares about me. I might as well use it.
Eat worms.
Go eat worms. Yeah. When we let our emotions override our intellect, we're going to use it because we want to.
Yeah.
We're looking for an excuse, and that's a good excuse. I'm just mad at the world, or they've hurt my feelings, or any emotion that I allow. Fear. Fear, when we walk out these doors and we have no coping skills, nothing. I have nothing that I can't cope with the life right now because my coping's all right. I have no social support system. Okay. So while we're in here, we need to come up with what's a good coping skill other than using drugs and alcohol?
Breathing.
Praying, deep breathing,
meditation, exercise, prayer,
exercise. There's all sorts of things. I have people tell me all the time, I tried, but I couldn't help myself. Okay, so quit trying to help yourself. Let God help you.
Absolutely.
Go to your group. Let your group help you. Call your sponsor. Let your sponsor help you. It's not that you couldn't help yourself. You did not want to.
Yep.
Yeah.
You didn't want to help yourself. You wanted to use your drugs. So that sounds mean. That's not social support. Helping managing emotions such as stress, anger, depression. This support might include listening to your problems, showing some empathy. You need to have somebody to talk to. This is why you need to get beyond the sponsor.
That's why I have an emotional support animal.
Emotional support animal.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that's great. My wife has an emotional support animal. But I'm going to tell you, as much as she pours out her emotions and stuff to that dog, he never says anything.
Yeah, right.
He just looks at her and his tongue hangs out, and he's a husky, so he sheds.
My favorite dog.
All of those.
I love the dog.
Worst dogs ever.
No.
They gotta be
That's my favorite.
Talking about an emotional support dog, they tell you not to get a pet for like a year.
Yeah.
But
They
but some of us like to have a puppy and
I have a dog.
It's good for me.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
it is,
therapeutic.
but-
Take care of yourself, then
Yeah.
you can't
Let
take care
me-
of the dog. So they say get a plant.
Good
Yeah.
thing.
If you can make that plant.
Well,
then
I've had my
it's an
emotional
animal.
support animal for 8
Well, let
years.
me share this with you.
So-
Emotional support animals are wonderful,
Mhm.
but they're not people. You need to have
They're
a
not talk
person
Yeah, that's
you can
true.
talk to,
Right.
someone who will listen to you
And give you
and
feedback.
give you feedback and talk to
Mhm.
you and all of that stuff. Also, tangible support. Number 2 is tangible support. Help with practical problems.
How do you spell that?
TANGIBLE.
Angibile.
TANGIBLE.
GIBLE.
What is that, like financial support?
This is help with practical problems, like financial assistance,
Financial, okay.
providing a ride to work, maybe, help with child care. There's a lot of people out there that do that professionally, and these may be the people you need to reach out to more than just a person. Because if you have a friend and you go to that friend and they help you financially, guess what?
They're enabling you.
Well, they may be enabling you if you're intending to use, but the other thing are you're now required to pay
pay
that
them back.
back to. And so that might not be, one of the best ways to lose a friend is to
Borrow money.
borrow money. So there's a lot of people out there that do it professionally and they do it for free and all of that stuff. So, the state will help you with a lot of stuff. So they can do that. And we need tangible support sometimes. We talked a lot yesterday about welfare. We talked about, what else? Food stamps and SNAP and whatever's out there. Sometimes, look, there's no shame in being able to get some of the stuff that we need for, a period of time. We don't need to do that for the rest of our lives. I think, look, work is a blessing from God. You need to work. Right? We need to have jobs. But the thing is, until we can get that, we need support.
Yeah.
Right.
We have a disease, and we need somebody to help us get to the place where we can function correctly.
Right.
So, informational support. That's another important thing. Providing information that helps solve a problem or overcome a challenge. This might include advice or information about helpful resources. Have you ever if you have friends or family in your life that's sober and can help you, have you ever gone to them and said, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel this? One good thing, informationally, I have people in my life that I can go and say, hey, am I acting right? You ever thought about that? Look, I'm having a little stress bomb going off in my life right now. Am I handling that the way that I should? Am I okay? Sometimes in my addiction, sometimes when in early recovery, I didn't know if I was okay or not. Sometimes I need people, and I had people tell me, look, you're fine. You're great. This is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. I had other people tell me, man, you have blown it. You're screwed up. You're tore up from the floor up. You're having all sorts. No, you're fixing to use. What? First time, I got my first group, and I'm going to group real well. And at some point, there was a guy there. I didn't really like this guy. And so, after a while, I got tired of listening to him. So, because every stinking group, hi, my name is John, I'm an alcoholic, and look, I've been clean for 13 years, and then he would tell us everything that happened in that 13 years. Okay. So one day I said, I've had enough, John, I ain't going today. So I didn't go that day. Next day I got up and I went. But the next day I said, no, still at. So I didn't go. So I didn't go. And it was like 3 or 4 days. And so, I had a sober, he wasn't my sponsor, but he was a sober support. Your sponsor is your sponsor. But you need to have other people in your life who are sober, who are supporting you. And he was my sober support person. And he came and told me, he said, hey, dude, hadn't seen you in group here lately. I said, that guy, John, He said, well, let me tell you a little something quickly. It ain't about John. It's about you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
I said, all right then.
Yeah.
Dang it.
He said, you know what you're about to do? You're going to go get drunk and you're going to blame John. So that's what you're doing. You're setting up somebody that you can blame for your relapse. And then, sober support person. Said, look, you want to go drink? Go drink. You don't have to blame John. Go get drunk.
Yeah.
I said, well, I think you're wrong. I don't think I really want it. He said, well, then go to Groove. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, at that point, I was in the middle of a 90 and 90. And so I didn't quite do the 90. Yeah, but I did get it done, but I had messed it up a little bit that time. So informational. There's people you need to have in your life that say you don't look right. I noticed when we passed by the bar over there, your tongue fell out like a red necktie. Wrong, you ain't right. You know, you need to have people in your life who's willing to do that.
Yeah.
So, and then the last thing, there are social needs that you have. Fulfillment of basic social needs. What is a basic social need? Every one of us needs to feel like somebody loves us.
Right.
I need to be loved. Somebody needs to love me. Yeah, I call my wife every day just to hear her say, "Well, I love you." Okay.
We all need that.
Yeah, I've been married for 52 years.
And that's why you're still married.
Congratulations.
That's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
That's a half a century.
I've been married for 52 years, and it's been 17 of the best years of my life. So I need somebody to love me. Look, here's the, why do y'all think there's a Baptist church on every corner in Beaumont? Is it because the people in Beaumont just really seriously love God?
No.
Some of them do. But it's mostly because we as a people need to belong to something.
Yeah.
There's all kinds. There's VFW, VMW, Baptist churches, Pentecostal churches, Dukahama churches, all kind of Wiccan groups, and all kind of crazy mess. Everywhere there's another group because we as human beings need to belong.
Yeah. Be part of
And so we need to have some of that support, social needs taken care of. Belong. How are you going to get that? You go to group. You go to your AA group. You go to your NA group, and you become a part of that group. Don't tell somebody I'm going to that group down there. Right? Don't tell somebody I'm going to AA. What do you tell them?
I am in that group.
Yeah, that's my group. That's my home group. That's my home. West End is my home group. That's where I go to group. That's where, that's my group. That makes you belong to the group. You're not visiting.
I haven't seen
You're part of the group.
I haven't seen you either.
Yeah, I felt good.
I don't go to that. I go to the group. But I do know the West End.
Yeah.
Also, go to church.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody in here ought to be going to church. That's another place where you can belong. You can be a part of that group. You don't tell people I'm going to church. Right?
I'm going to Cathedral of Faith Baptist Missionary.
Yeah.
Pastor Manchester.
That's my church.
Pastor.
Yeah. I'm a member of that church over there. And as a member, you have the right to call the pastor and say, hey, you need to come over to my house.
Mm-hmm.
And they will.
I'm invited.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you call your pastor and say, hey, I need to see you at my house tomorrow at 2:00, and he don't come to our church.
Yeah.
I ain't coming either, but we'll send some.
What are you of? What's your church?
I pastor Bethel Baptist Church in West Orange, Texas.
Oh, I heard when you be talking, I say, "Come on, Pastor."
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. So anyway, we need that belonging, and we need and going right along with that, we need connectedness. We need to be connected with other people. We need to connect it because you were made by Almighty God to be connected to other people.
Yeah.
You know, this thing is not, this disease we have, for first thing, is not a do it by myself thing.
Right.
And just as human beings, it's not a do this life thing by myself. We're going to do that.
It's impossible.
Yeah. We have to have other people. That's the look. Now, this is a lot of the reasons sometimes that we don't make it when we get out of here. I got this. No. No. What an egotistical statement. I got this. I can do this on my own. No,
Yeah, right.
You may can, because we talk about those outliers that maybe that one person, 99%, it's not you. You're going to go toe up in about 3 days. Yeah. I thought I could do it. Yeah, that's the problem. You're thinking. You quit that because you can't do it. You know, don't be thinking let somebody else pour into your life. You can't do it. You couldn't do it before. You know, we were talking about insanity.
Yeah.
Some people, the last time I did it, that ain't the way you ought to do it this time, because last time didn't work.
Exactly.
Last time you screwed that up real bad. Last time when you got out of here, you went back to the same old people, places, and things. You looked at that counselor in the rearview mirror and you said, "Bye, y'all. Yeah, I heard what you said, but that's not true in my personal life." Now, it's true for that girl. It's true for her. And probably for that pregnant girl. But it ain't true for me. It's not true for me. Because I know who I am. Yeah, I do too. You're an addict. You're going to fail if you go do it with that kind of thoughts, right?
Yeah. True. True.
All right. We're going quick.
Okay.
Here's the deal. This it helps provide a feeling of security and contentment. Because look, one of the things that has been stolen from you is your feeling of contentment. I can't feel content. Why not? I don't have my drug. I don't have my coping skill. I don't have my God with me. I can't feel content. I don't feel like I'm full. I don't feel like I'm complete, because part of me has been ripped away.
Yeah.
And now you're telling me I can't ever have it back again. So why do you think when you go to AA, they talk about one day at a time? Why do you think we do that?
Because it's too
You
hard.
just try to take it slow.
Yeah, take it slow. That's a good point. Another good point.
The Bible says it. I'm sorry. The Bible says it best. I mean, there's enough worries in today.
Yeah. That's a good point too.
Yeah.
I just
But
said
here's the deal. How old are you?
I'll be 40 on Sunday.
40 on Sunday? I thought you were
That's
old.
the big
40 years old. I have underwear older than her. Here's the deal. If you're 40 years old, how long are you going to live?
Hopefully 100 is old.
So if you live to be 100, how long is that?
60 years from now.
60 years from now. So if you look at that and you say, well, I can't use another drug, I can't use anything for 60 years. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That sounds like it's insurmountable. I'm never going to be able to go 60 years without drinking a beer, or 60 years without having some cocaine, or 60 years without having, I'm not, but I can do one day.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I can do today. I can just do today.
And then tomorrow I'll say the same thing to the next.
Yeah, tomorrow I'll deal with that.
And the next thing you'll know, it's 30 years from
It's
now.
30 years from now. But I'll deal with tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm just doing
one day at a time.
one day at a time. So, here's how we build that stuff. Attend to your existing relationships. It's very important. Attend to your existing relationships. Some of those relationships you need to build back up. Some of those relationships you have screwed over. Some of those relationships you have messed up pretty badly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some of those relationships you need to rebuild.
Yes.
Some of those relationships you need to let go.
Yes.
You got some family members in your life that love you, you care for them, but you have stepped on them. You need to make amends to them. You have torn them up. You need to go make those amends. You need to do what you need to do. and then you need to go forward if they accept it or if they don't.
Mm-hmm.
If they say, well, no, I just don't want you in my life, thank them for their time and go away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
And it means to my dad.
Yeah. And so some of them, others are going to accept it, so you just thank them and you can rebuild that relationship. How long does it take you to rebuild trust?
A long time.
Long time.
Easy to mess up, but it's hard to gain back.
But you gotta try.
You need to try. You need to work at it. Here's the deal. You're probably not ever going to completely build that trust back. But, you can build some of it back. Because those people know exactly how many times you've been treated.
Mm-hmm.
They know exactly how many times you've done this. They know exactly how many times you've wrecked their car. They know exactly how many times you've stole money out of their purse. They know exactly how many. You think, I got away with that. She didn't know. They know. They know. And you go to get the rent, it ain't there. They know. So attend to those, reach out to those you can, make it a priority to maintain your most important relationship, even when other areas of your life are busy. We need to be, busy helps me, but I don't need to be so busy that I let my relationship go. Right? Last night, y'all know, I just told you we're married 52 years, but last night we're sitting on the couch together watching television, and my wife paused the television. So, you got this girl, and then she started talking to me about some of the stuff that one of her friends is going through. And we talked for an hour about a family friend who was having some issues with her brother. And so we talked for, I don't visit with that girl. I don't even know her brother, but, we talked about that. Was it important to do that?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we talked about this before. How much does how long do couples, usually over a week's time, how long do couples talk?
An hour.
No idea.
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
15 minutes. Most couples talk 15 minutes. So my wife and I, we tear that statistic up because we'll talk to each other for an hour.
That's good.
Yeah. So here's the deal. We need to be attending to our relationships and talking. So if you have a relationship with somebody, just know that if you're talking to them for 10, 15 minutes a day, that's a good thing because most relationships, and they fall apart, but they're only talking to one another for 10 or 15 minutes a week.
That's crazy.
That's great. It is great.
My son is not.
I get up in the morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. I go work out. I go to work, whatever I do. My wife doesn't get up till like 8:30. So I'm going to see her when I get home tonight. So it's important for us to take some time to talk when we get home because she's not going to see me. Well, I call her and talk to her, but that's a little bit different. You need to be willing to increase your community involvement. There's stuff out there that's going on, and you need to be part of that. One of the big things for us is going to our group, right? Go to our group, and that's community involvement. There's a little local church, I guarantee you, near you that needs you. And they need you to come in, do a little work, clean the church, do whatever you're going to do. But they need you to be there. It's not a requirement. You can just go in, sit in the pew. But they still would be welcoming to have you there.
Right.
They want you there. I know our church every Sunday morning, when I'm on the podium, I'm waiting to see who's going to make it. And I'm not seeing any of you there.
I was down that road.
I know, yeah.
It went over there.
Participate in hobby groups. Sometimes I go out the back way because I like to go different ways. And there's an airport over there. That's an airport for hobby planes, little bitty play planes. What do you call those?
Person?
What are they?
Like personal planes?
Yeah, they're just the little bit
Oh,
plastic planes. Anyway, they call them something. Anyway, they're out there flying those planes and stuff, and there's a whole bunch of them out there. Y'all remember Miss Tudor? Anybody who remember Miss Tudor?
No,
Remember
yes I do.
Miss Tudor used to be a counselor
Miss
here.
Roxy?
She's a nice lady, but she and her husband do two things as hobbies, and they're in recovery. They have an antique car, and they do what they call a drive around, and they have like 30 of these antique cars that they just drive around town. She and her husband also, he's about 7 foot tall, and she's normal. Well, she's not normal, but she's normal height. And they dress up like Shrek and Fiona, and they go to everything dressed up like Shrek and Fiona, whatever her name is.
Fiona.
Just crazy. So they do some stuff. So we need to be increased in that. Participate in hobbies, volunteer, go to the food bank and help them. Go to and there's all sorts of things we can do out there.
Yeah.
Religious groups. There's all sorts of religious groups out there. If you're a veteran, there's VFW. For those who are in wartime, there's also the American Legion for soldiers and all of those people who were in the military who were not in wartime. You do have your own thing, which is called, the American Legion. There's all sorts of stuff like that. So that's a great way to meet like-minded people and start building up that support system. I need to have a support system in my life. I need to go make sober friends.
yeah.
So what are you addicted to?
Sobriety.
A lot.
What are we addicted to?
Sobriety.
We should get addicted to sobriety. That's a magnificent thing. A lot of the times, when we say, what are you addicted to? We talk about our drug, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to understand that we are addicted to excitement. We're addicted to going out to the bars. We're addicted to
The thrill.
Pleasures.
pleasure,
Stuff like that.
the thrill,
Yes.
whatever it is, And a lot of the times, it's hard for us to get into sobriety because I'm addicted to the behavior.
Mm.
Not just I'm addicted to the behavior. Do you know that you can be addicted to a person?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Lots of us. What's that called?
Codependency.
Yeah. Codependency. Yeah.
Psychosis.
A lot of people are addicted to other people, and that's a real tough thing. That's why it's hard for us to get away from these people, but we need to shift that to other, more positive, more healthy situations.
Right.
So, 10 support groups. We talked about that. Can I tell you? I want to tell you. This has nothing to do with anything. But we have a lady here in the group. Hasn't paid any attention at all. She's been doing a puzzle the whole time we're in the group. Now, let me ask y'all a question. Do you think that she's going to be able to complete that puzzle?
Eventually.
I can guarantee you that she's never going to complete that puzzle.
Yes, she will.
You think she will?
Yes.
I think she will.
You think she will?
Unless it's a puzzle.
Why do you-
I've been paying
Why do you think she's going to complete the puzzle?
Because
She's dedicated to it right
She's
now.
dedicated to completing that puzzle. Because she's even doing the puzzle in the group. So if she's that dedicated to doing that puzzle, then you're going to believe she's going to complete that puzzle, right?
She will.
Right.
She'll complete the
Okay.
task.
If you're that dedicated to completing the puzzle, you're probably going to get it done. If you're dedicated to your recovery on that kind of level, then you're probably
Gonna stay sober.
There's a saying that says a man or a woman gets out of life whatever it is they truly want. If you really want to get into recovery, you will.
Yep.
You will. If you don't, you won't. But I'm going to make you another guarantee. She's never going to finish that puzzle.
Yes, you
She will. If you do,
You've worked that
I'm
puzzle
not-
before and it's missing a piece.
well, if you do, I got the glue to. I got the glue to hold it together.
You know it's missing a piece?
She's not.
It's gonna be done.
Yeah. She's not going to do it.
Did you take the piece from
She's not. Look. Why am I saying she's not going to finish that
I
puzzle?
don't know. You know, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Why?
Are you gonna tear it
Because
up?
she cannot finish that puzzle without help.
Without what?
It's like I can't stay in my recovery without help. She cannot finish that puzzle without help. Is that true?
No.
I don't
No.
Kind of, well, a little
Yes, it
bit,
is.
but no.
Yes, it is.
No.
Connect with others who are dealing with similar problems or life experiences. It can be rewarding to share your own story with other people.
Yes.
Yes, it is. A testimony.
Hello.
And then one more thing.
Sorry. Find out where
Use
I was.
professional support if you need to. Look, doctors, therapists, social workers, other professionals can help you solve your problems that are more
Ooh,
complicated or too difficult for you to attack alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I shouldn't
You
have
need to be,
myself.
when you need that kind of help, you need to be willing to do it.
That's a fact.
Yes.
Now, see, I'm a
that is-
professional.
Right.
I'm here to help people, so I'm going to help her finish that puzzle. She's never, ever going to
You
finish.
just helped me because that's almost like that.
Like a challenge.
Yeah.
you say she was.
That's almost like a challenge.
But I got the glue. We could.
The way that I'm going to help her finish that puzzle
Give her
is
that
I'm going
dang
to give her
puzzle
this
piece.
piece of it.
I know what I know.
I told you you got a piece of the puzzle.
I stole this piece from her earlier, so I'm going to give this back to her. Now, here's the deal. In my recovery, there are people out there that have a piece that I need,
Yeah.
okay?
That's
And
true.
they have a piece
I like that.
that you need.
Yeah, you just
So-
have to-
I'm thinking it's this.
So,
That's that.
we need to be willing. We need to be willing.
Don't put it there. I need it.
We need to be willing to take that help
I
from
like
other
it.
people.
But
All
you know
right?
what?
So that's it for today. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Dr. Carter.
I like your group. Are you coming?